There is an old story, one that has been told for centuries across many cultures, in many languages, and in many forms. And yet, each time it is told, it lands differently. Because each time you hear it, you are a different person than the last time you heard it. Life has changed you. Circumstances have shaped you. And the lesson inside this story finds you exactly where you are, and gives you exactly what you need. So, wherever you are right now, whatever you are carrying, whatever situation has been weighing on you, making you question, making you doubt, making you wonder why things happened the way they did, listen carefully. This story is for you. There was once a farmer who lived on a small piece of land at the edge of a quiet village. He was not wealthy. He was not powerful. He did not hold any title or position of importance in the eyes of the world. But the people of the village had long noticed something about this farmer that they could not fully explain. He was always at peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from having no problems. The farmer had plenty of problems. His land was difficult. The weather was unpredictable. Life handed him the same hardships it hands everyone. But no matter what happened, no matter what came, or went, or fell apart, the farmer received it all with the same quiet, unhurried calm. The villagers called him wise. But they did not yet understand why. One morning, the farmer woke to find that his only horse, the animal he depended on for plowing his fields and carrying his harvest, had broken through the fence during the night and run away. The neighbors heard the news and gathered at his fence. They shook their heads. They clicked their tongues. "What terrible luck," they said. "You have lost your only horse. How will you plow the fields? How will you bring in the harvest? This is a disaster." The farmer listened to them quietly. He looked at the broken fence for a long moment. Then, he simply said, "Maybe. Maybe not. We will see." The neighbors shook their heads and went home, certain that the old farmer had lost his mind along with his horse. 3 days passed. On the 4th morning, the farmer woke to a sound at his fence. He walked outside to find his horse had returned. And it had not returned alone. It had led back with it 4 wild horses from the open plains. Strong, beautiful animals that now stood quietly in his yard, waiting. The neighbors gathered again, eyes wide with amazement. "What incredible luck," they said. "You had 1 horse, and now you have 5. You are a rich man. This is wonderful news." The farmer looked at the 5 horses for a long moment. Then he said, "Maybe. Maybe not. We will see." The neighbors shook their heads again and went home, unable to understand the man. The following week, the farmer's only son, a strong young man of 20 who was the pride of his father's heart, began the work of taming the wild horses. On the 3rd day, one of the horses threw him. The young man fell hard. When the dust settled and they carried him inside, they found that he had broken his leg in 2 places. The neighbors came again. They held their hands over their mouths. "What terrible luck," they said. "Your son is your only help. Your only companion. Your only family. And now he is broken and cannot work. Just when fortune smiled on you, it has turned against you again. This is a disaster." The farmer sat beside his son's bed for a long time before he spoke. Then he said, "Maybe. Maybe not. We will see." The neighbors left more confused than ever. 2 weeks later, soldiers came riding through the village. There was a war in a distant land. The emperor needed men. They were conscripting every able-bodied young man from every village in the region. They went door to door and took sons from fathers and husbands from wives, leaving behind nothing but tears and silence. But when they came to the farmer's door and saw the young man lying in bed with his leg bound, broken, and swollen, they moved on. They could not take a man who could not walk. They could not take a man who could not fight. And so, the farmer's son stayed home. He was the only young man in the entire village who stayed home that day. The neighbors came one final time. This time, there were no words. Some of them wept. Some of them simply stood at the farmer's fence and looked at him with an expression that was somewhere between grief for their own sons and wonder at the strange fortune of this man who never seemed to be rattled by anything. Finally, one of them spoke. "You knew," he said. "Somehow, you always knew." The farmer shook his head slowly. "I knew nothing," he said. "I only understood one thing." The neighbor waited. The farmer looked out at the fields where his son was slowly beginning to heal. Where the horses grazed quietly in the morning light. Where the broken fence had been mended twice now and still stood. He said, "I learned a long time ago that the human mind is not built to see the full picture. We see one frame. One moment. One piece of a story that is still being written. And we declare it good or bad, lucky or unlucky, a blessing or a disaster, based on nothing more than what we can see right now. But life is not one frame. It is a river. And what looks like a rock in the water from where you are standing might be the very thing that redirects the river towards somewhere better. I stopped judging the frames a long time ago. I simply let the river flow. Let us sit with what this story is really telling us. Because beneath the surface of this simple farmer and his horse, there are truths here that have the power to permanently change the way you move through your life. Lesson 1. You are never seeing the full picture. Every time you declare something a disaster, every time you say this is the worst thing that could have happened, you are doing what the neighbors did. You are looking at one frame of a story that is not yet complete and writing the ending yourself. But you do not have enough information to write that ending. The only honest response to any situation is the farmer's response, maybe, maybe not. We will see. Lesson 2. Acceptance is not the same as giving up. There is a misunderstanding that many people carry. They believe that if they accept what happens without a reaction, it means they are weak. But the farmer was not passive. He mended his fence. He tended his son. He continued his work. He simply refused to add suffering on top of difficulty. He refused to carry the emotional weight of a verdict that had not yet been delivered. Lesson 3. The obstacle is almost always part of the path. The broken leg that seemed like the worst possible timing turned out to be the thing that saved the young man's life. The thing that felt like it was blocking the path was actually redirecting it. The failure that felt permanent was actually preparation. The loss that felt like the end was actually the turning point. Once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. Think for a moment about the thing in your life right now that feels the most like a disaster. The situation that has been keeping you awake. The door that closed. The plan that fell apart. Now ask yourself honestly, are you the farmer? Or are you the neighbors? Are you the person who looks at one frame of an unfinished story and writes the ending? Or are you the person who is learning to say, maybe, maybe not? We will see? The farmer practiced not knowing. He practiced sitting with uncertainty without collapsing under it. He practiced trust. Not in luck, but in the simple truth that the picture is always bigger than what any of us can see from where we are standing. And that truth, once it settles into your bones, changes everything. It changes how you wake up. It changes how you respond to news that shakes you. It changes the quality of the life you are living right now. Today, in the middle of the waiting, in the middle of the story that has not yet shown you where it is going, this is where the wisdom lives. The farmer knew that. And now, so do you. Thank you for watching. And remember, maybe, maybe not. We will see.